Oh, what a dingus. Did I really do the wrong side? No, I didn't. Did I do the wrong side? You better cut that out. I swear to fucking God, I'll fuck you up if you don't take that out, Tyler. I think it's this way. Oh, God damn it. You're a fucking asshole. You got all that too.
This is the intro now.
No, it's not. No, it's not. You better not make that as the intro. Time to make the G spoolie noises. So we're gonna put the supercharger on the G. Hopefully get it ready in time for the next drift event so we can have fun with 4 people in the car instead of 2. We got a stock G. Stock as shit. Motor probably will blow, but it's okay. Let's give it some boost. Okay, so we are trying to replace these 2 gaskets on the exhaust for the Y pipe because, as you can see, it was leaking very profusely. There was literally no gasket here. I think over time it just fell out, and it was on there for so long that the lock nuts that come on here as factory, they just got seized to the threads, which happens, you know, and this is what the outcome is. Snaps. So 3 drill bits later and a bunch of cussing, we're almost there, and then we'll throw the new gaskets back in for the exhaust, and then put the rest of the blast pipes back in, and that'll cover the exhaust, and then everything else is going to be for the motor, supercharger, and then firepower. So after going and checking on Sean, talking to him as he was taking care of his hairless son, we wanted to get back to actual work. So like we said, we had to do the valve cover on this side because we noticed oil leaking into this spark plug tube seal. Typically we would go ahead and replace both, but since this is not a crazy good motor, we don't know what the outcome is going to be. So we're just going to do one side for now. That way we prevent any oil from getting into our ignition coil, causing a spark interference. This done, and then we can start throwing all the supercharger stuff on, which is what everybody wants to see. I'm not proud of this, but the spacer has these notches in there, which kind of scares me for leaks. So don't do this if it's not needed. I'm only putting a small amount just so I know it's gonna seal. I see all motherfuckers out there putting no big ass globs on intakes. That's not cool. We are here day 2 with the supercharger build on the G35. So off camera, what I did is just kind of set the supercharger in there with the bracket just to kind of see how everything's going. Because normally these kits are meant for like stock application, nothing like added on. So one thing that we're running into here, we have an upgraded radiator on here. Obviously for drifting you want to have a bigger radiator, better cooling, especially because you're redlining it all the time. The big thing that we're running into a problem with is that part of the inlet for the compressor housing is being blocked by the OEM radiator shroud. So we talked to Vortec. Obviously, just like I thought they would say, is that it's meant for a stock application. So what we're kind of going over is if we're going to go back to a OEM radiator, not a cheap one, or we'll just tube the whole front end and push the radiator more forward. That way we still keep the better radiator. So as we're waiting on parts to come in for this, because we still have to get fuel injectors, bigger fuel pump, because we're not going to run their kit. We're going to, you know, simplify everything pretty much. So in the time of our parts coming in, one thing we still have to do for the drain for this supercharger because it is a full pass-through. It's not just a stagnant oil sitting in there. We have to take the upper oil pan off, and we have to drill a hole on the side of it and weld a dash, I believe dash 10 bung on there for our turbo drain. Supercharger drain. So that's what we're going to be doing in that meantime. Started taking stuff off for dropping the oil pan. So we're going to finish getting the alternator off, the bracketry, and then we need to undo the motor mounts, undo these, and then obviously undo the steering column, and then we will drop the subframe down, obviously being held up by a jack pole, and then we will take the upper oil pan off after we take this guy. All right, so we got the oil pan out. The GoPro decided to die on me when I was taking it out, so sorry you didn't get to see that, but I already started cleaning off the bottom side of the block for the oil pan, and now we're gonna make this thing look hopefully brand new again, and then we're gonna drill on this part of the oil pan right here. We have this fitting for the supercharger drain, so we're gonna drill 1/2 inch and then thread it, put some silicone on it, that way it's not gonna leak. And then we have our drain for our supercharger, and then reinstall the oil pan. We got some more parts in, so we'll show you guys that as we go along. GTR injectors in the car. Beauty about this is that it's factory Nissan injectors, so the OEM connectors will connect to the GTR injectors. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to replace the plugs. We got one step colder plug, it's NGK's part number LFR7AIX. So we're going to throw those in the car, and then throw the lower plenum on, and then throw everything else back together. And then we have our tune for Thursday. Let's make it. So we're converting the stock fuel pump to AEM 340. That way we can support the amount of power that we're wanting to put down in the G. With this car, it has a very particular fuel pump assembly that other G35 coupes, 350Zs do not have. It's really a pain in the ass style, but this tank only works, or this fuel pump assembly only works with this tank. So luckily we have a spare one. This is just a test dummy, as you could say. So what we were running into an issue with is that the AEM pump is a little taller than the stock fuel pump, so it has to fit in this cage right here, and since it's taller, it was not fitting. When you try to push it in there, it literally has almost, literally 1/2 inch of gap. So looking at it, one thing that I tried first is that this pump comes with a rubber insulator from AEM. It's really thick, it's thicker than the factory one. So the first thing that we did is we tried putting the factory one on here. Still a little too thick. So took it more apart and investigated, and the pickup for the feed coming from the fuel pump, there's this plastic area right here of the housing that was pushing down on these top parts right here on the fuel pump. So what we did is we went ahead and reamed out these areas. We marked it, reamed out these areas, and then trimmed a little bit off the rubber insulator from the bottom. and just literally just forced it on there. And we got to clip in. Very nice. So now we will do that on our actual fuel pump assembly that we're going to throw back into the car, because when I let this thing sit outside and air out, California decided to do its shit and missed overnight. So not going to throw a fuel pump assembly that had water all over it. So luckily our boys over at Sac City sent us a new fuel pump assembly. So we're going to modify this one. This actually is the fuel filter area right here. So you can buy this new. Good thing it is detachable. So we're gonna go ahead and modify this part, and then we're gonna throw it back into the car. All right guys, so time to put the fuel pump back in. That's one of the few last things that we need for this car. Only thing majorly left is for the ECU to come back, and we can run this jammy. The day has come, everybody. We are done. Time to rip the G and listen to some Procharger noises. Let's go start it. Dyno. It's weird. Makes weird noises. It's gonna feel good. Yeah. It's gonna feel fast. Gonna spin 30. Yeah, it'll spin. Well, it's already like, you can feel the motor though, like it gets that have like happy pulling point. You can feel it starting to pull. Oh, this thing feels good. You did good, Tyler. Let's go, nice job, baby. That feels cool. It's cool. I know you did. I see it right there. I see this guy. It's just natural. I don't mean to.
He lined up and everything, bro.
I didn't like hit it hard, but that's cool.
That was low. That was like 3K.
I was just like, and it's definitely like will push through better. I didn't want to like mad or anything.
Does it feel like it's got more power now?
It feels more like bottom endy for sure. I mean, it did it better with 4 dudes right now.
Yeah, dude, like that was nothing.
Before it would not drift with 4 people. Would not drift with 4 people.
No.
God damn it.
Careful there, bud. I wanted to clutch kick second, but I didn't. I was about to go, what?
I was trying to drink water right now, and you just sent that turn and went all over Tyler, bro. All over Tyler.
Skirt, skirt. I was just making sure the e-brake works, guys. It smells very warm.
Yeah.
It smells like burnt chicken. Burnt chicken.
It does.
We need some vents. That's what we're gonna need. This actually smells good, like more like a gingerbread house. Alright, so we ran it a couple times on the dyno. I think it's on like 3 or 4 pulls. Right now we made 339. Me and Tyler have a bet on how much it's gonna make. He said 347. I said 350. So we'll see. He's still going right now, so I think there's a little bit more left in it.
And we're dynoing Sean's car, G35.
with a Vortex supercharger on it. I'm going to put my headphones on so we can listen for a knock. Let's make a pass.
Alright, well, we both made bets. I pretty much won.
Yeah.
What'd you make?
It's fair, it's fair. I said 347.
And what'd she make?
Made 354.
There you go. But we did make 360. He turned it down a little bit just to be like, I don't know, not conservative, but he just felt like, you know, that's where it kind of felt the best. He did 3 maps. He did do 1 map with kind of like the pops and backfires, one that's just like a clean map, and then one that is actually for
100 octane.
Yeah, 100 octane. So it should make like, I don't know, what, 400 with that one?
A little over 400. You know, so we want to have some fun, you know.
Yeah, so that's just like if you want to party. I don't know. The motor's probably not going to last that long, so who knows when we'll be doing that. But yeah, I'm excited. I didn't really want to street drive it here because I don't want to burn the spot. But yeah, we're going to get a first test sometime soon. I don't know if it's going to be in Vegas or if it's going to be at home, but we'll see.
But it rips.
Yeah, yeah, it does rip, and it was really cool to see it on the dyno. Shout out to Specialty Z. Honestly, they handled it pretty fast. It took like 4 hours. I think it was like 2, not even 3.
Yeah.
So, and then also shout out to Tyler. You know, he threw this thing together last couple weeks. There's a lot more stuff than we kind of accounted for that needed to go into it, and he made it happen on, you know, my timeline. And they both the guys in there said, you know, he did a really great job installing everything, and you know, there's no problems at all. So all in all, pretty stoked, and it's time to go drive now, man.
Yeah.
It's been too long.
Yeah, it's time to rip this shit. Let's go.
Until next one.